Stretching across vast deserts, hidden in dense forests, and carved into remote mountainsides, these massive earthworks whisper secrets from civilizations long gone. Some are so enormous they can only be seen from the sky, while others reveal their intricate patterns only under the right light or season. These are geoglyphs, ancient artworks etched into the landscape by cultures we're still struggling to understand. They're puzzles on a grand scale, left behind by people who wanted to communicate something maybe to the gods, to the stars, or to future generations like us. And here's the thing, we're still deciphering their messages. From the iconic Nazca Lines of Peru to lesser-known wonders scattered across every continent, geoglyphs are a global phenomenon. They defy simple explanation. Why would ancient societies spend centuries moving tons of earth and stone to create shapes only fully visible from above? Were they celestial maps, religious symbols, or territorial markers? Some align perfectly with solstices, while others seem to depict mythical creatures or gods. The deeper we look, the more questions arise. These aren't just random scratches on the land, they're carefully planned masterpieces, each with a story waiting to be uncovered. Today, we're embarking on a journey to explore 25 of the most astonishing geoglyphs ever discovered. Picture standing at the edge of a desert, staring at a figure so large it disappears into the horizon. Or imagine stumbling upon a hidden valley where the earth itself forms the outline of a giant, forgotten deity. Each of these sites holds clues to humanity's past, and together they paint a picture of a world far more connected and sophisticated than we often assume. So, are you ready to unravel the mysteries etched into the very skin of our planet? Let's dive in. High above the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines stretch across nearly 200 square miles of desert like a sprawling, open-air gallery. Etched into the dark, rocky surface by removing the top layer of pebbles to reveal lighter soil beneath, these massive geoglyphs form intricate designs, some stretching over 1,000 feet long. The precision is staggering. How did the Nazca culture, flourishing between 200 BCE and 600 CE, create such detailed figures without an aerial view? Among the most famous is the hummingbird, its wings perfectly symmetrical, as if frozen mid-flight. Nearby, a colossal spider curls its legs with anatomical accuracy, while a winding spiral and a massive monkey with a tightly coiled tail add to the mystery. Theories about their purpose are as varied as the designs themselves. Some researchers believe they were part of sacred rituals, pathways for processions to honor deities tied to water and fertility critical in this harsh, rain-starved landscape. Others argue they served as astronomical calendars, with certain lines aligning perfectly with solstices or celestial events. A more practical theory suggests they marked underground water channels, guiding communities to vital sources in an environment where every drop was precious. Yet, despite decades of study, no single explanation fully satisfies. Their discovery only deepened the intrigue. First documented by Peruvian archaeologist Toribio Mejia Zesp in the 1920s, the lines gained worldwide attention when pilots flying over the desert in the 1930s spotted them from above. Since then, erosion, human activity, and even climate change have threatened these fragile artworks. Tire tracks from off-road vehicles, illegal mining, and shifting weather patterns leave conservationists racing to protect what remains. What's undeniable is the Nazca Lines' enduring power to captivate. They're more than ancient doodles, they're a testament to human ingenuity, a language written in earth and stone. And as we continue to study them, they remind us how much we still have to learn about the people who left them behind. Rising from the sun-baked earth of Chile's Atacama Desert, the Atacama giant commands attention, a staggering 390-foot figure carved into the barren hillside. This colossal humanoid, with its rectangular head and elongated limbs, dwarfs even the Nazca Lines in sheer scale. Unlike the delicate animal figures of Peru, this geoglyph feels almost otherworldly, its simplified yet imposing form visible from miles away. But here's what makes it even more fascinating. Its body isn't just a random shape. Close examination reveals lines radiating from its head and limbs, like cosmic rays or perhaps pathways leading toward something greater. Local legends whisper that the giant represents a deity worshipped by the indigenous people of the region, possibly a sky god or a celestial guide. The timing adds weight to this theory. Many believe it was created between 900 and 1400 CE by the Tiwanaku or Inca cultures, both deeply attuned to astronomical cycles. Some researchers argue the figure's alignment corresponds to the Milky Way, serving as a terrestrial mirror of the heavens. Others point to its outstretched arms, which may have tracked the moon's path across the desert sky, helping ancient travelers navigate the featureless landscape. The precision of its construction baffles experts. Without modern tools, how did creators achieve such symmetry on this scale? One theory suggests they used a grid system, scaling up small designs by pegging ropes to the ground, a technique seen in other ancient cultures. But the Atacama's remote location raises another question. Why here? The desert is one of the driest places on Earth, yet it's dotted with over 5,000 geoglyphs, many clustered around ancient trade routes. Could the giant have been a waypoint, a spiritual guardian watching over caravans carrying precious goods like obsidian and llama wool? Erosion threatens the giant's sharp edges today, but its mystery only grows. Unlike the Nazca Lines, which hide their full form from ground level, the Atacama giant is unmistakable even to those standing at its feet. Was it meant to awe travelers, to unite the earth and sky in a single symbol, or to encode knowledge we've yet to decipher? Every line in its body seems to hold a secret, waiting for the right eyes to see it. Carved into the steep, sandy slopes of Peru's Paracas Peninsula, the Paracas candelabra looms over the Pacific Ocean like a beacon from another time. This massive, fork-like figure stretches nearly 600 feet tall, its deep grooves forming a central column with perfectly symmetrical branches, a design so precise it could pass for modern engineering. But this geoglyph isn't new. It dates back over 2,000 years, created by the Paracas culture long before the rise of the Inca Empire. What's striking isn't just its scale, but its location, visible from miles out at sea, as if meant to guide sailors. Some researchers believe it did just that, serving as a navigational marker for ancient maritime traders moving along the coast. Others argue its trident shape mirrors sacred symbols found on Paracas textiles and pottery, suggesting a spiritual connection, perhaps an offering to the gods of wind and waves that governed their survival. Half a world away, in California's Sonoran Desert, the blithe intaglios tell a different story. These sprawling figures, etched into the rocky earth by the Mojave and Quechan peoples, depict humans, animals, and intricate geometric shapes, some stretching over 170 feet long. Unlike the candelabra's solitary grandeur, the blithe intaglios feel like a gathering. A giant serpent coils near a pair of human figures, one with arms outstretched as if in dance or prayer. These geoglyphs weren't meant to be seen from above by gods or travelers. They were part of tribal ceremonies where the act of creation was as sacred as the finished work. Walking the outlines during rituals, participants would have felt the earth's energy beneath their feet, connecting to ancestors and the spirit world. The contrast between these two sites is fascinating. One overlooks the ocean, a possible tool for navigation or a plea to celestial forces. The other sits inland, a canvas for communal storytelling and worship. Yet both share a mastery of their harsh environments. The Paracas candelabra's grooves were dug deep enough to withstand coastal winds, while the blithe intaglio's creators scraped away dark desert varnish to reveal lighter soil beneath, ensuring their figures endured. Time has faded their edges, but their purpose lingers, whispers of cultures that shaped the land to speak to forces beyond human reach. Whether guiding ships through treacherous waters or calling spirits to bless the harvest, these geoglyphs remind us that even in the most unforgiving landscapes, humanity leaves marks meant to last. Perched high on the rolling green hills of Oxfordshire, England, the Uffington white horse has watched over the landscape for 3,000 years. This ancient chalk figure, stretching 360 feet long, isn't just a simple carving, it's a masterpiece of abstract art. Its sleek, flowing lines more like a shadow in motion than a literal horse. The design is unmistakably Celtic, with its elongated body and stylized legs, evoking the same artistic flair found in ancient metalwork and manuscripts. But what makes this geoglyph truly remarkable isn't just its age. It's the dedication of generations who have kept it alive. Every few years, locals gather to meticulously scour the trenches, removing encroaching grass and replenishing the crushed chalk that keeps the horse gleaming against the hillside. This isn't just maintenance, it's a ritual, a direct link to the people who first carved it into the earth. So why a horse? The answer might lie in Celtic mythology, where horses symbolized power, sovereignty, and connection to the divine. Some scholars tie the figure to Epona, the revered horse goddess worshipped across ancient Europe. Associated with fertility, protection, and the afterlife, Epona was often depicted alongside these majestic animals, and the Uffington horse could have been a sacred tribute to her. Others suggest it represents a mythical steed from Celtic folklore, a creature capable of crossing between worlds. The hill's proximity to ancient burial mounds and the legendary Dragon Hill, where, according to legend, Saint George slew the dragon, adds layers of mystery. Was the horse a guardian spirit, a territorial marker, or a celestial symbol? The precision of its design deepens the intrigue. From the ground, the horse appears distorted, its proportions skewed, but from above, its graceful form snaps into focus. This suggests the creators understood perspective in a way that defies their time, crafting a figure meant to be seen not just by people, but perhaps by deities soaring overhead. The surrounding landscape offers clues too. The horse aligns with the sun's path during seasonal festivals, and nearby Bronze Age barrows hint at ceremonial significance. It's as if the entire hill was a stage for rituals we can only imagine. Today, the Uffington white horse remains a testament to continuity. Unlike many geoglyphs worn away by time, this one survives because of an unbroken chain of care. Each scrape of a shovel, each handful of fresh chalk, echoes the intentions of those who came before. Whether as a religious icon, a tribal emblem, or a timeless work of art, the horse endures not just as a relic, but as a living symbol of a culture that still speaks across the centuries. Deep in the heart of the Brazilian Amazon, where the dense canopy has concealed secrets for centuries, a startling discovery has rewritten our understanding of pre-Columbian civilizations. Beneath the towering trees, researchers have uncovered over 400 geometric geoglyphs, vast earthworks forming perfect circles, squares, and octagons, some stretching more than 1,000 feet across. These aren't random clearings, they're meticulously dug trenches and embankments, their symmetry so precise it rivals modern engineering. Unlike the animal figures of Nazca or the solitary giants of Atacama, these formations cluster together like a hidden city of shapes, invisible from the ground until modern technology peeled back the rainforest's green veil. The mystery begins with their age. Carbon dating suggests these structures were built between 2,000 and 650 years ago, long before European contact, yet their sophistication challenges old assumptions about Amazonian societies. For decades, the rainforest was seen as a pristine wilderness, too harsh to support complex cultures. These geoglyphs shatter that myth. The sheer labor involved, moving millions of cubic feet of earth without metal tools or wheels, hints at organized communities with shared goals and advanced knowledge. But what were they building? Two compelling theories dominate the debate. Some archaeologists argue these were ceremonial spaces, akin to Neolithic henges like Stonehenge, where rituals connected the living with the spiritual world. Excavations have turned up sparse artifacts, suggesting intermittent use rather than daily habitation. The shape's alignment with solstices and lunar cycles supports this idea, echoing patterns seen in sacred sites worldwide. Others propose a more pragmatic purpose: fortified villages or defensive enclosures. The deep ditches and raised berms could have deterred invaders, while the geometric layouts may have structured communal life. Intriguingly, many geoglyphs sit near ancient roads, hinting at a networked society moving goods and ideas across the Amazon basin. The discovery also forces us to rethink the rainforest itself. Far from an untouched Eden, the Amazon may have been a managed landscape shaped by human hands. Some geoglyphs lie in areas rich with terra preta fertile, human-made soil suggesting their builders practiced large-scale agriculture. Could these earthworks have been part of a grander system, balancing ritual, defense, and sustainable farming? The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes. This wasn't just a culture surviving in the jungle. It was thriving, transforming it. As logging and development encroach, these fragile sites face new threats. Each geoglyph lost is a chapter erased from humanity's story. Yet with every survey, drone flight, and ground-penetrating radar scan, we're piecing together a forgotten world, one where the Amazon's people didn't just live with nature. They shaped it, leaving behind monumental questions in soil and shadow. What else lies beneath those trees, waiting to surface? In the vast, sun-baked expanse of South Australia's outback, the Marri Man appears like a ghostly apparition. A 2.6-mile-tall figure etched into the barren landscape with such precision it could only be seen in full from the air. Discovered in 1998 by a pilot flying over the remote plateau, this massive geoglyph depicts a hunter holding a throwing stick, his outline carved into the red earth so deeply the trenches cast sharp shadows at certain times of day. What makes this figure so perplexing isn't just its staggering scale, but the fact that no one knows who created it or why. Unlike ancient geoglyphs shaped by centuries of tradition, the Marri Man emerged overnight, a modern mystery wrapped in enigma. Theories about its origins spiral in every direction. Some point to its striking resemblance to Aboriginal rock art, particularly the dynamic human figures found in ancient petroglyphs across Australia. The hunter's pose, with one arm raised as if poised to throw, mirrors ceremonial stances seen in indigenous storytelling. Yet local Aboriginal communities have no record or oral history tied to the site, leading others to speculate it was crafted by outsiders, perhaps artists or activists aiming to draw attention to indigenous culture. A series of cryptic notes left near the site, filled with references to American military jargon and even a satellite coordinate pointing to a CIA facility, fueled wilder speculation about government involvement. Could it have been a psychological experiment, a land art stunt, or even a bizarre marketing ploy? Despite investigations, no individual or group has ever claimed responsibility. Even the method of its creation baffles experts. Surveyors estimate over 10,000 cubic yards of earth were moved, yet there were no eyewitnesses, no tire tracks leading to the site, and no heavy machinery left behind. The lines were cut with remarkable accuracy, suggesting the use of GPS technology, something still in its infancy in the 90s. Local ranchers reported seeing strange lights in the area around the time of its appearance, but no concrete evidence ever surfaced. The Marri Man feels like a deliberate provocation, a puzzle meant to defy easy answers. As the years pass, the land slowly reclaims the figure. Erosion softens its edges, and without maintenance, it may vanish entirely within decades, a fleeting modern counterpart to the enduring geoglyphs of antiquity. Yet its brief existence raises profound questions. Was it art, activism, or something more elusive? Unlike the Nazca Lines or the Atacama giant, the Marri Man carries no ancient whispers. It speaks in the language of our own time, a reminder that even in an age of satellites and surveillance, the Earth can still hold secrets we can't quite unravel. Carved into the lush hillside of Dorset, England, the Cerne Abbas giant stands as one of the world's most provocative geoglyphs, a towering, 300-foot nude figure brandishing a massive club, his unmistakable outline etched into the chalky soil. What grabs attention isn't just his size, but his unabashed boldness. The giant's exaggerated features and prominent anatomy have sparked debates, giggles, and even blushes for centuries. But beneath the surface humor lies a deeper mystery. Who created this brazen figure, and was it meant to inspire awe, laughter, or something far more primal? Theories about the giant's origin split sharply. Some historians argue he's an ancient fertility symbol, linked to pagan rituals celebrating life and harvest. Local folklore leans into this idea, with tales of barren couples conceiving after spending a night on the giant's outline, particularly near his most notable feature. Others point to the lack of any written record before the late 17th century, suggesting he might be a political jab at Oliver Cromwell, mockingly dubbed England's Hercules by his critics. Could the giant be a rebellious caricature carved by royalist supporters to undermine Puritan rule? The truth remains as elusive as the figure's shadow at dusk. What's undeniable is his role in local tradition. For generations, the giant has been a living landmark, his lines scoured and refreshed by villagers in a ritual that blurs the line between maintenance and reverence. Annual festivals once saw dancers weaving around his form, and even today, his image graces pub signs and local art, a cheeky guardian of Dorset's identity. Yet modern technology has added new twists to the tale. Recent LiDAR scans revealed traces of a long eroded cloak or belt near the giant's waist, hints that his current form might be a modified version of an older, perhaps even more mysterious design. The Cerne Abbas giant refuses to fit neatly into any box. Is he a god, a joke, or a rebel statement? His power lies in that very ambiguity. Unlike the precise alignments of the Nazca Lines or the celestial symbolism of the Atacama giant, this figure feels human, raw, playful, and unapologetically alive. He challenges us to confront the past not as a solemn relic, but as a conversation, one that's still unfolding with every scrape of chalk and every curious gaze turned his way. Standing quietly on the wind-swept slopes of the South Downs in England, the Long Man of Wilmington presents a striking contrast to the brazen Cerne Abbas giant. Where the Cerne figure bursts with raw energy, the Long Man exudes calm, a slender, 230-foot stick figure holding what appear to be two staffs, his minimalist outline carved into the chalk hillside with almost meditative precision. This isn't a figure meant to shock or amuse. It's one that invites contemplation, its arms raised as if in quiet offering or blessing. But don't let its simplicity fool you. The Long Man is every bit as mysterious as his more famous Dorset counterpart, and his origins are just as fiercely debated. Some scholars argue he's a relic of the Neolithic era, a celestial guardian aligned with the movements of the sun. The staffs in his hands might represent the solstices, marking the sun's highest and lowest points in the sky, a living calendar etched into the land. Others see connections to Anglo-Saxon culture, suggesting the figure could be a depiction of a warrior or a deity like Woden, the Norse god associated with wisdom and the dead. The staffs morph into spears in this interpretation, their placement echoing ceremonial poses found in ancient Germanic art. The Long Man's hilltop position adds weight to both theories. High places were often sacred spaces where earth and sky met in rituals spanning thousands of years. Controversy clings to the Long Man like the mist that often blankets the downs. Unlike the Cerne giant, whose outlines have been tended continuously, the Long Man's modern form is partly a reconstruction. Early depictions show a far cruder figure with uneven proportions and a face features lost to time and erosion. Restorations in the 19th century smoothed his lines into the geometric uniformity we see today, sparking debates about authenticity. Were the original quirks intentional, carrying meanings we'll never recover? Or did the restorers inadvertently create a new icon, blending ancient inspiration with Victorian aesthetics? What's undeniable is the long man's ability to haunt the imagination. Standing at his feet, you can't help but wonder, was he meant to guide travelers, to mark sacred ground, or to channel divine energy? His silence is part of his power. Where the Cerne giant shouts, the long man whispers, a reminder that not all mysteries need bold lines to endure. Sometimes the faintest marks on the land hold the deepest stories. High on the Bolivian Altiplano, where the thin air stings with cold and the horizon stretches endlessly, lies one of the planet's most astonishing yet overlooked geoglyph networks, the Nazca Lines. Unlike the figurative designs of Nazca or the solitary giants of Atacama, these geoglyphs are a sprawling web of over 16,000 kilometers of perfectly straight paths, crisscrossing the landscape like a colossal spider's silk. Each line, painstakingly cleared of dark volcanic rock to expose the lighter earth beneath, runs with unwavering precision across plains, over hills, and even up the slopes of sacred Mount Sajama itself. The scale is almost incomprehensible. If laid end to end, these lines could stretch halfway around the earth, yet their purpose remains one of the Andes' most tantalizing puzzles. Some researchers believe the lines formed a vast pilgrimage network, guiding worshippers to sacred sites or natural springs in a landscape where water was both life and divinity. Others argue they were celestial pathways aligned with solstices or the movements of stars, mapping the heavens onto the earth. The sheer density of the lines, some running parallel mere meters apart, suggests something more than mere navigation. Could they have been part of ritual races where participants ran along their lengths in ceremonies honoring mountain gods? Local Aymara traditions still speak of sacred ways, invisible threads connecting holy places, and the line's proximity to ancient burial towers hints at funerary significance. What's certain is that this wasn't haphazard scratching. The line's geometric perfection reveals advanced understanding of distance and direction, likely achieved with simple ropes and stakes, yet another testament to pre-Columbian ingenuity. Meanwhile, halfway across the world in Russia's frozen Arctic, an entirely different kind of geoglyph emerges from the tundra. Here, amid the lichen-covered stones and permafrost, ancient peoples arranged boulders into massive shapes, including a striking 300-foot reindeer with branching antlers. Unlike Bolivia's straight lines, these figures are curvilinear and organic, blending into the undulating terrain. Dated to roughly 6,000 years ago, they're attributed to the region's nomadic reindeer herders whose survival depended on these animals. But these weren't just giant doodles. The reindeer's antlers align with the sunrise during key migration periods, suggesting a practical function, a seasonal marker for hunting or herding routes. Yet there's a spiritual layer too. In Sami and Nenet's shamanic traditions, reindeer are bridges between worlds, their antlers symbolizing the tree of life. The geoglyph's placement near sacred sites, including ancient stone labyrinths used for rituals, implies it might have been a portal for shamans journeying into the spirit realm. Imagine the scene under the midnight sun or the shimmering aurora, communities gathering to rewalk the reindeer's outline, chanting stories of ancestors and animal spirits. Unlike the Sajama line's stark geometry, these Arctic designs feel alive, pulsing with the rhythms of nature and human interdependence with it. Together, these sites, Bolivia's endless lines and Russia's frozen reindeer, reveal how geoglyphs transcend aesthetics. They're not just art, they're conversations with the land, the sky, and the unseen. Whether plotting celestial maps or invoking animal guides, their creators shared a universal impulse to etch meaning into the earth itself, ensuring their stories would outlast them. And in these silent lines and shapes they succeeded. Scattered across the remote steppes of northern Kazakhstan, an astonishing collection of ancient earthworks lies hidden in plain sight. Over 260 geometric designs etched into the rugged landscape, some spanning longer than 4 football fields. Discovered accidentally in 2007 by a Kazakh economist browsing satellite images, these structures defy expectations. Unlike the animal figures of Nazca or the humanoid giants of the Atacama, the Kazakh geoglyphs are abstract perfect squares, rings, and even swastika-like crosses, their lines formed by carefully arranged mounds of earth and stone. But here's the twist, they're not just old. At roughly 8,000 years, they predate the pyramids by millennia, making them some of the oldest known geoglyphs on Earth. The mystery begins with their creators. This was the domain of Neolithic nomads, hunter-gatherers who followed herds across the steppe. How and why did people without permanent settlements invest such staggering effort into permanent earthworks? Moving thousands of tons of stone without beasts of burden or wheels would have required coordinated labor across generations. The scale suggests a society far more organized than we've credited them for. Some archaeologists propose these were seasonal gathering sites where scattered clans converged for rituals or trade, leaving their mark on the land as a testament to unity. Others see astronomical significance. Certain glyphs align with sunrise during equinoxes, hinting at celestial calendars that guided migrations or planting cycles in an era before agriculture took root. Then there's the swastika. Before its infamy in the 20th century, this ancient symbol appeared across cultures as a sign of life, motion, and the sun's path. The Kazakh versions, with their clockwise and counterclockwise spirals, might have represented the cyclical nature of seasons or spiritual journeys. Local folklore speaks of ancestor spirits riding sunbeams across the sky. Could these glyphs have been offerings to them? Yet the most haunting question isn't their purpose, but their invisibility. Unlike other geoglyphs designed to awe from above, Kazakhstan's earthworks are nearly impossible to discern from ground level. Without modern satellites, we'd still be oblivious to their existence. So who were they for? The gods, the land itself, or some message we've yet to decode? The steppe keeps its secrets, but with each drone survey and ground-penetrating radar scan, we're peeling back layers of a story written in earth and time. One that rewrites our understanding of nomads not as wanderers, but as architects of the impossible. Stretching across the rolling hills and river valleys of North America, a different kind of geoglyph emerges, one not etched into the Earth's surface but built upon it. The effigy mounds, particularly those in the American Midwest, take the form of colossal birds, bears, and serpents, their sinuous bodies and outspread wings sculpted from layers of soil and stone by Native American cultures over 1,000 years ago. Among the most breathtaking is Wisconsin's Serpent Mound, a winding earthwork nearly a quarter-mile long, its coiled tail and gaping jaws frozen in motion as if slithering across the landscape. But this isn't just art, it's a sacred text written in clay and grass, a physical manifestation of the spiritual connection between people, animals, and the cosmos. The builders of these mounds, ancestors of tribes like the Ho-Chunk and Iowa, saw the natural world as alive with meaning. For them, animals weren't just prey or symbols, they were guides, teachers, and even kin. The serpent, for instance, held a dual role in many indigenous cosmologies. Its ability to shed skin symbolized renewal, while its sinuous form mirrored the twisting path of rivers, which were veins of life threading through the land. The Wisconsin Serpent Mound's placement isn't random. Its head aligns with the summer solstice sunset, as if the creature itself is swallowing the sun, heralding the seasonal cycle of growth and decay. Nearby, bird-shaped mounds face the spring and autumn equinoxes, their wings outstretched toward the rising sun, a celestial choreography encoded in earth. Digging deeper reveals even more intentionality. Archaeologists have found that many effigy mounds were constructed over generations, with each layer representing a new chapter in communal memory. Some contain burials, suggesting they served as bridges between the living and the ancestors. Others align with ancient trade routes or overlook fertile hunting grounds, merging practical wayfinding with spiritual resonance. The Great Bear Mound in Iowa, for example, sits at a confluence of rivers, a location treasured for its abundance of fish and game. Was the mound a thanksgiving to the bear spirit for its bounty, or a marker of territory under its protection? The answer likely lies in both, reflecting a world view where land, ritual, and survival were inseparable. What's striking is how these mounds blur the line between the seen and unseen. Unlike geoglyphs designed to awe from above, many effigy mounds reveal their full forms only when walked, their outlines felt underfoot as much as seen. This suggests they weren't just for display but for participation. Imagine ceremonies where dancers traced the serpent's spine, chanting prayers for rain, or where elders pointed to the bear's paws to teach navigation by the stars. These were interactive landscapes where every contour held a lesson, a story, or a plea to the forces shaping existence. Today, the effigy mounds face modern threats: erosion, agriculture, and even well-meaning but misguided tourism. Yet their power endures, protected as national monuments and still tended by descendant communities. They remind us that geoglyphs aren't just relics of the past. They're living conversations, etched not just into dirt but into the collective soul of the people who honor them. And as the solstice sun still sets over the serpent's jaws, that conversation continues, a whisper across centuries urging us to listen. Tucked into the arid plains of northern Chile near the modern town of Chiza, a series of enigmatic geoglyphs whisper secrets of a thriving pre-Incan world. Among them, a 300-foot llama stands frozen in time, its elegant form carved into the desert floor with astonishing precision. Unlike the solitary giants of the Atacama, the Chiza figures form a network: llamas, geometric shapes, and even humanoid outlines, all scattered along ancient pathways that once pulsed with commerce and culture. These aren't just random markings, they're signposts of a forgotten highway linking the high-altitude heartlands of the Tiwanaku Empire to the Pacific coast. The llama, a symbol of endurance and wealth in the Andes, offers the first clue. These animals were the lifeblood of trade, carrying everything from dried fish to precious metals across punishing landscapes. The geoglyph's placement along a known caravan route suggests it might have served as a territorial marker or a spiritual plea for safe passage, but there's more. Recent excavations near the site uncovered Tiwanaku-style pottery shards and tools, hinting at a cultural exchange far more extensive than previously thought. The Tiwanaku, masters of engineering and astronomy, influenced societies across the region, and their fingerprints might be hidden in the very lines of these geoglyphs. Some researchers argue the llama's elongated neck aligns with the rising sun during the winter solstice, a celestial nod to Tiwanaku's sun-worshipping traditions. Yet the Chiza figures resist easy categorization. Nearby, a cluster of zigzagging lines mirrors patterns found in Tiwanaku textiles, while a humanoid figure with outstretched arms echoes ceremonial poses depicted on ancient steels. Were these geoglyphs a fusion of local and imperial identity, a way for distant communities to assert their place within a vast trade network? Or did they function as ritual spaces where traveling merchants made offerings to Pachamama, the earth goddess, before venturing into the desert's merciless embrace? Erosion threatens to silence these questions. Unlike the Nazca Lines protected by their stable microclimate, Chiza's geoglyphs face encroaching agriculture and climate-driven desertification. Each fading line takes with it a fragment of the story, how goods, ideas, and faith traversed continents long before the Inca rose to power. The llamas may be silent, but their stubborn presence on this harsh canvas speaks volumes. They remind us that the desert wasn't just a barrier, it was a bridge, and these geoglyphs were its toll booths, temples, and trail markers all in one. Stretching across Jordan's harsh black desert, a landscape of cracked basalt and scorching winds, lie the enigmatic wheel structures, massive stone circles and radiating spokes that resemble wagon wheels frozen in time. These ancient geoglyphs, some over 150 feet across, dot the desert like ghostly blueprints left behind by an unseen hand. Discovered by pilots in the 1920s, just like the Nazca Lines, they share a haunting similarity with their Peruvian counterparts. Both were crafted to be seen from above, yet their creators had no way to view their full splendor. But while the Nazca figures depict animals and shapes, the Jordanian wheels are starkly geometric, their precise rings and spokes hinting at a purpose far beyond mere artistry. Dating these structures is a puzzle in itself. Unlike the Nazca Lines, which were dated using organic materials trapped in their trenches, the Black Desert's dry, shifting sands have left few clues. Some archaeologists place their origins as far back as 8,500 years, making them contemporaries of the oldest known geoglyphs in Kazakhstan. Others argue they're more recent, perhaps linked to the Nabateans, the same civilization that carved Petra into rose-red cliffs. Without definitive evidence, the wheels float in a chronological limbo, their age as mysterious as their function. So what were they? For one compelling theory ties them to the dead. The desert is littered with ancient cairn stone burial mounds, and many wheels sit at their centers like spokes radiating from a hub. Could these have been ceremonial gateways guiding spirits into the afterlife? The wheel's alignment with certain stars adds weight to this idea. Some structures point to the rising of Sirius or Aldebaran, stars sacred to ancient pastoralists who relied on their movements to time migrations. Others mirror constellations linked to underworld myths in early Semitic cultures. It's as if the wheels were cosmic maps stitching the earth to the heavens in a grand funerary tapestry. Yet another interpretation suggests practicality. The Black Desert wasn't always so forbidding. Thousands of years ago, it was a greener land crisscrossed by seasonal streams. The wheels might have been tribal markers, signaling water sources or grazing rights to nomadic groups. Their radial design could have served as a primitive coordinate system, helping travelers orient themselves in a featureless expanse. The truth might lie somewhere in between, a fusion of the sacred and the everyday, where the need to navigate the physical world blended seamlessly with reverence for the spiritual one. What's undeniable is the skill behind their creation. Each stone was carefully chosen and placed, often contrasting with the dark desert floor to ensure visibility. The builders worked without the wheel or written language, yet their designs echo a sophisticated understanding of symmetry and scale. Like the Nazca Lines, they challenge our assumptions about primitive societies, proving that ancient peoples could conceive and execute grand visions even if their full meaning eludes us today. As desert winds slowly erase their edges, the wheels endure as silent witnesses to a lost world. Were they altars, maps, or messages to the gods, perhaps all three? In their silent circles, we glimpse a people trying to make sense of their place in a vast and unpredictable universe, leaving behind whispers in stone for us to decipher. Perched along the rocky slopes of Peru's Pisco Valley, the so-called Band of Holes defies explanation, a staggering array of over 6,000 shallow pits carved into the earth, stretching nearly a mile across the terrain in near-perfect alignment. Each pit measures roughly 3 feet wide and just as deep, their repetitive precision more reminiscent of an industrial grid than an ancient artwork. Unlike the sweeping curves of the Nazca Lines or the bold figures of the Atacama, this geoglyph lacks pictorial flair. Instead, it feels functional, almost clinical, as if it were part of some grand bureaucratic scheme etched into the hillside. Theories about its purpose swing wildly between the pragmatic and the ritualistic. Some archaeologists suggest these pits were part of an Inca taxation system, used to measure and store agricultural yields like corn or quinoa. The uniformity could have allowed administrators to calculate tributes owed by local communities, turning the landscape itself into a ledger. Others propose a military role, perhaps defensive trenches or storage for projectiles, designed to repel invaders in a region littered with pre-Columbian fortresses. But the most tantalizing idea ties the pits to astronomy. a handful of researchers note their alignment with the June solstice sunrise, hinting at a celestial connection buried in this monotony of holes. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Saudi Arabia's barren lava fields hide their own enigmatic earthwork structures dubbed gates for their resemblance to old-fashioned field fences. These low stone walls, some stretching over 1,500 feet, form rectangular shapes with branching lines, often clustered in groups like ghostly blueprints on the desert floor. First spotted by satellite imagery in the 1970s, their true age and purpose remained speculative until recent studies pushed their origins back to the Neolithic period, making them roughly 7,000 years old. Unlike Peru's band of holes, the gates weren't carved into the earth but built atop it, their basalt rocks carefully arranged by pastoral nomads who roamed the region long before the rise of Islam or even the Bronze Age. The gates' isolation adds to their mystery. Many sit in the inhospitable Harat Khoibar volcanic field, where water was scarce and survival precarious. Why invest such labor in a landscape so unforgiving? One compelling theory links them to ancient animal husbandry. The structures might have served as kites, massive traps used to corral wild gazelles or ibex during seasonal hunts, funneling herds into enclosures where they could be harvested sustainably. Supporting this, archaeologists have found animal bones and tools near some gates, though no definitive proof ties them to hunting. Another possibility casts them as territorial markers, delineating grazing rights or sacred spaces for tribes crisscrossing the desert. Their precise alignment with geographic features like volcanic cones or dry riverbeds suggests an intimate knowledge of the land's rhythms, yet some gates stand alone, their purpose opaque. Could they have been ritual spaces where nomadic clans gathered for ceremonies under the stars? The desert preserves no answers, only silent stones arranged in patterns that refuse to surrender their meaning. What unites these two sites, Peru's regimented pits and Saudi Arabia's sprawling gates, is their defiance of categorization. Neither fits neatly into the artistic or astronomical boxes we've built for geoglyphs. Instead, they hint at the mundane necessities of ancient life: food, survival, and the relentless need to impose order on chaos. The band of holes might represent a civilization's attempt to quantify its wealth, while the gates could reflect a nomadic people's dance with the land that sustained them. Both remind us that geoglyphs aren't just for the gods. Sometimes they're for the grind of everyday existence, etched into the earth by hands that knew hunger, trade, and the weight of time. And in their silent persistence, they challenge us to see the past not as a gallery of mysteries, but as a mirror of our own relentless ingenuity. Hidden deep in the rugged canyons of the Lower Picos region in Texas, the White Shaman Rock stands as one of North America's most enigmatic and spiritually charged ancient murals. This massive 4,000-year-old panel stretches across a limestone cliff face, its vibrant red, black, yellow, and white pigments still strikingly vivid despite millennia of exposure to scorching sun and driving rain. At first glance, the figures seem abstract, elongated human forms with outstretched arms, towering over smaller, more intricate shapes resembling animals, plants, and celestial bodies. But look closer, and a narrative emerges, pulsing with the heartbeat of a culture that saw the world as a tapestry of interconnected spirits. The central debate among archaeologists and indigenous scholars revolves around one question: is this a snapshot of a shaman's vision or a sacred retelling of creation itself? Some researchers interpret the largest figure, the so-called White Shaman, as a spiritual intermediary mid-ritual, his skeletal frame and wide, staring eyes suggesting a trance state. The hallucinogenic peyote cactus, native to the region and long used in indigenous ceremonies, appears prominently in the mural, fueling theories that this artwork captures a shaman's journey into the spirit world. Surrounding figures might represent ancestral spirits or totemic guides, their forms merging with deer, snakes, and even celestial symbols like stars and sunbursts. For modern descendants of the Coahuiltecan and other local tribes, this panel isn't just art, it's a portal to their ancestors' cosmology, a reminder that every stroke of pigment was a prayer in visual form. Yet another school of thought argues the mural depicts a foundational myth, possibly the birth of the sun or the origin of humanity. The composition's verticality, with layered tiers of figures, mirrors creation stories told by indigenous groups across the Americas, where worlds are stacked like layers of earth and sky. One striking detail supports this: a row of 5 figures, each painted a different color, standing side by side. To some, this echoes pan-tribal narratives of the first humans emerging from the underworld, their hues symbolizing the diversity of life. Even the white shaman might not be a person at all, but a personification of dawn or divine light, his pale form splitting the darkness like the first sunrise. What's undeniable is the site's enduring sacredness. Local tribes, including the Lipan Apache and Kickapoo, still visit the rock shelter for ceremonies, blending ancient traditions with contemporary faith. The mural's preservation is a testament to their reverence, and a stark contrast to the vandalism and looting that has damaged other sites. Modern tools like 3D scanning have revealed hidden layers of pigment, suggesting the mural was repainted and reinterpreted over generations, a living text updated by each era's keepers. The white shaman rock resists easy categorization. It's a spiritual roadmap, an anthropological puzzle, and a masterpiece all at once. Whether depicting a shaman's ecstatic dance or the universe's first breath, its power lies in its ambiguity. Every viewer, whether archaeologist, tribal elder, or curious traveler, sees something different in those ancient lines, a reflection of their own search for meaning. And perhaps that's exactly what its creators intended. Not a single story, but an invitation to keep looking, keep questioning, and keep the conversation with the past alive. Nestled in the arid valleys of Peru's Huanca region, a series of enigmatic geoglyphs spiral and zigzag across the desert floor like ancient hymns written in earth. These intricate designs, some stretching over 150 feet, are far less famous than their Nazca cousins, but their mystery runs just as deep. Unlike the animal figures etched to the south, the Huanca geoglyphs are all about patterns. Concentric circles resembling ripples in water, jagged lightning bolts frozen mid-strike, and labyrinthine paths that seem to pull the eye inward. What's fascinating is how these shapes mirror those found on Weri ceramics and textiles, hinting at a cultural thread tying the coastal desert to the highland empire that predated the Inca by centuries. Water is the recurring theme here. Unlike Nazca, where rainfall was nearly non-existent, Huanca sits at the edge of seasonal river valleys. The zigzag designs bear a striking resemblance to Andean symbols for lightning, an omen of coming rains, while the spirals might represent whirlpools or springs. Archaeologists speculate these geoglyphs were part of elaborate water rituals, perhaps walked by priests during ceremonies to invoke the life-giving rains. The proximity to ancient aqueducts and canals supports this theory. Imagine the scene: under a blazing sun, processions tracing these sacred lines, chanting prayers as their footsteps awakened the earth's memory of moisture. But there's another layer to their story. The Huanca geoglyphs aren't isolated. They're strung along the routes of what would later become the Inca road system, a sprawling highway connecting the empire. Some researchers argue the Weri, master engineers and predecessors to the Inca, first marked these trails with geoglyphs as both spiritual and practical waypoints. The spiral could have served as a cosmic map, aligning with solstice sunrises to guide travelers, while the zigzags may have warned of treacherous terrain ahead. Time hasn't been kind to Huanca. Unlike the Nazca Lines preserved by their rainless environment, these geoglyphs face erosion from occasional downpours and modern farming. Yet their fading lines still whisper of a time when the desert wasn't just a wasteland. It was a living parchment, inscribed with pleas to the skies and directions for those who knew how to read them. Rising from the golden plains of Alberta, Canada, the Badlands Guardian defies easy categorization, a colossal, human-like face staring skyward, sculpted not by ancient hands but by millennia of wind and water. Stretching over 900 feet long, this striking formation appears so perfectly rendered it's hard to believe nature acted alone. From above, the features are uncanny, a furrowed brow, a prominent nose, and even lips slightly parted as if whispering secrets to the clouds. Yet here's the twist, this isn't a geoglyph in the traditional sense. Unlike the deliberate earthworks of Nazca or the Atacama giant, the Guardian is a quirk of erosion. Its details carved by chance into the soft clay and sandstone of the Canadian Badlands. But that hasn't stopped it from captivating imaginations or sparking debates about where nature's art ends and human perception begins. The Guardian's discovery is a modern tale. Spotted in 2005 by a sharp-eyed viewer browsing Google Earth, its viral fame transformed a remote hillside into an internet sensation. Geologists were quick to explain the science behind it, layers of harder rock resisting erosion while softer layers wore away, creating the illusion of facial features. Yet for many, especially indigenous communities like the Blackfoot and Cree, the Guardian's discovery was less about novelty and more about recognition. Oral traditions have long spoken of the land's sentience, where certain formations are embodiments of ancestors or spirits. The Blackfoot, for instance, revere the Badlands as a place where the earth itself holds memory, and some elders see the Guardian as a physical manifestation of that belief. Whether shaped by intention or accident, the figure resonates with stories of watchful protectors woven into tribal cosmology. This duality, natural phenomenon versus cultural icon, makes the Guardian fascinating. Some argue it should be considered an honorary geoglyph, a testament to how landscapes can inspire the same awe as human-made marvels. Others playfully call it Earth's first self-portrait. Tourists now flock to see it, though the figure's scale means its full impact is best appreciated from the air. Local businesses have embraced the legend, offering flight tours that circle the serene face, while park signs caution visitors to tread lightly on the fragile terrain. Erosion, ironically the Guardian sculptor, now threatens to blur its features over time, adding urgency to preservation efforts. The deeper question lingers, why does this formation feel so intentional? Perhaps it's pareidolia, the human brain's knack for seeing faces in random patterns, or perhaps it's something more. The Guardian's presence challenges us to reconsider the boundaries between art and nature, chance and meaning. Whether as a geological fluke or a spiritual sentinel, it reminds us that the Earth has its own language, one that sometimes speaks in shapes too perfect to ignore. And in that silent conversation between rock and sky, the Guardian keeps its watch, a timeless face etched not by tools, but by the slow, patient hands of wind and rain. Scattered across Chile's Atacama Desert, the Pintados geoglyphs stand apart from their more famous neighbors, not carved into the earth but painted upon it. These sprawling figures, created by carefully arranging dark volcanic stones against the lighter desert floor, form a gallery of human silhouettes, llamas, and intricate geometric patterns stretching over 3,000 feet in length. Unlike the solitary Atacama giant or the celestial alignments of the Nazca Lines, the Pintados cluster along ancient caravan routes like silent sentinels, their presence marking the pulse of a once thriving trade network that connected the Andes to the Pacific coast. What makes these geoglyphs remarkable is their tactile intimacy. Where other earthworks demand aerial views to reveal their grandeur, the Pintados reveal their artistry up close. Each stone was hand-placed, their collective darkness creating stark contrasts visible even at ground level. A deliberate choice by the Tiwanaku and later Inca cultures who used these routes. The human figures, often depicted with arms raised or holding tools, might represent traders or spiritual guides, while the llamas echo the beasts of burden that carried everything from dried fish to precious metals across these harsh trails. Some researchers argue these were territorial markers, signaling safe passage or tribal boundaries to traveling merchants. Others see them as ritual waypoints where caravans pause to make offerings to Pachamama, the earth goddess, before venturing deeper into the desert's embrace. The sheer density of the Pintados tells its own story. Over 500 individual geoglyphs dot this stretch of the Atacama, some positioned at elevations requiring hours of steep climbs to reach. Why expend such effort in places where visibility to travelers was limited? The answer might lie in perspective. Many figures face specific mountain peaks or water sources, aligning with natural landmarks critical for navigation in this featureless expanse. A llama geoglyph near Cerro Unita, for instance, points directly to a hidden canyon spring, a life-saving clue for parched travelers. Other designs mirror patterns found on Tiwanaku textiles and pottery unearthed along the route, suggesting these weren't just signs but cultural signatures, proclaiming the presence of distant empires in a land without borders. Yet the Pintados also guard secrets. Unlike the Nazca Lines, whose purposes are debated but whose creators are known, these geoglyphs bear traces of multiple hands across centuries. Some figures overlay older ones, their stones darker from prolonged exposure, hinting at layers of meaning rewritten by successive cultures. A zigzag pattern near Pampa del Tamarugal, for example, sits atop an earlier spiral, a visual palimpsest where one people's symbol became another's. This blending speaks to the route's enduring role as conduits of not just goods but ideas. The desert, often seen as barren, was a canvas for conversation between civilizations. Today, the Pintados face a slow unraveling. Climate change has altered wind patterns, scattering stones that held their positions for a millennium. Mining operations and off-road vehicles encroach on fragile sites, their tire tracks erasing lines that survived intact since before the Inca. But in their fading forms, these geoglyphs offer a lesson. They weren't just markers on a map, they were a language spoken in rock and shadow, telling travelers they weren't alone in the vastness. Every llama, every human outline whispered the same promise the desert remembers. Hidden in the dense birch forests of Russia's Ural Mountains, a colossal moose stares silently at the sky, its 900-foot outline etched into the earth so subtly that it remained unseen for millennia until satellite imagery revealed its staggering form. Dated to around 6,000 years old, this ancient geoglyph predates the Nazca Lines by centuries, making it one of the oldest known large-scale earthworks on the planet. What's astonishing isn't just its age, but the hands that shaped it, hunter-gatherers of the Neolithic era, a people we often picture as transient, living hand to mouth. Yet here's their enduring mark, a monument demanding coordinated labor and vision far beyond what we've credited them for. The moose's design is a masterclass in both artistry and observation. From above, its elongated body curves with lifelike grace, legs poised mid-stride as if frozen in motion. The antlers, a sprawling crown of tines, mirror the symmetry of real moose in astonishing detail, something that would have required intimate knowledge of the animal's anatomy. But why a moose? For the region's ancient peoples, this creature wasn't just prey. It was a symbol of survival, its meat, hide, and bones sustaining entire communities. Some researchers suggest the geoglyph was a form of sympathetic magic, a giant plea to the spirit of the moose to ensure abundant hunts. Others see it as a territorial claim, a silent announcement of a tribe's presence in a landscape teeming with rivals. Then there's the celestial connection. The moose's orientation aligns with the sunrise during the autumn equinox, a critical time for hunting and preparation before the brutal Ural winter. Its antlers also mirror the shape of the Big Dipper constellation, a navigational guide and spiritual symbol for many northern cultures. Could this geoglyph have been a ritual calendar, a sacred map linking earth and sky? The surrounding landscape offers clues. Nearby burial mounds and remnants of ceremonial fires hint that this was more than just art. It was a stage for ceremonies where shamans might have invoked the moose's spirit to bless the hunt or guide the dead to the afterlife. The method of its creation deepens the mystery. Unlike geoglyphs carved into desert floors, the moose was shaped by removing layers of peaty soil to expose the lighter sandstone beneath, a technique requiring precise planning without an aerial view. Researchers theorize its makers used simple tools like wooden stakes and ropes, scaling up smaller designs through a grid system. But the sheer labor involved, moving countless tons of earth by hand, speaks to a communal effort, a shared purpose binding generations. Today, the moose faces a silent threat. Encroaching forestry and climate-driven erosion soften its edges, blurring lines that have held for 6,000 years. Yet, even as it fades, this geoglyph challenges our assumptions. It forces us to see hunter-gatherers not as wanderers, but as architects of meaning, people who looked at a vast forest and saw not just trees, but a canvas. And in that quiet clearing, they left a message not for us, perhaps, but for the moose, the stars, and the spirits they believed walked among them. Carved into the fertile floodplains where Venezuela's Orinoco River snakes through the rainforest, a series of geometric geoglyphs lie hidden beneath tangled vegetation. Circles, squares, and interlocking lines stretching hundreds of feet across the earth. Unlike the stark desert figures of Nazca or the towering giants of Atacama, these riverbank designs blend into the landscape, their edges softened by centuries of seasonal floods and regrowth. Discovered largely through aerial surveys in the early 21st century, their age remains debated, but traces of pottery and hearths nearby suggest they were crafted between 1,000 and 2,000 years ago by the ancestors of today's indigenous Pairoa and Yaquana peoples. What's striking isn't just their precision, but their purpose. These weren't solitary symbols. They were social blueprints etched into the earth as gathering spaces for ceremonies, trade, or communal decision-making in a world where rivers were the highways of life. The design's uniformity hints at shared knowledge across vast distances. Similar geometric motifs appear in villages along the Orinoco's tributaries, suggesting a cultural language woven into the land itself. Some researchers propose the circular formations, often aligned with solstice sunrises, served as ritual arenas where shamans conducted ceremonies under the open sky. Others point to their strategic placement near natural harbors, where canoes could beach easily, turning these sites into bustling marketplaces. Imagine the scene: traders from distant rainforest communities paddling for days to barter rare stones, feathers, and cassava flour, their meetings framed by these earthwork plazas. The geoglyph's geometric clarity may have functioned like a civic ledger, demarcating spaces for different clans or activities, much like the striped awnings of a modern farmer's market. Yet these ancient gathering places face a modern threat. The Orinoco Basin is now a battleground between preservation and progress. Gold mining operations, illegal deforestation, and sprawling agricultural projects creep closer to the geoglyphs each year. Unlike the protected deserts of Peru or Chile, Venezuela's rainforest lacks consistent conservation oversight, leaving these fragile earthworks vulnerable to bulldozers and dredgers. Satellite images already show patches of destruction where geometric lines once met the river's edge, raced not by time but by backhoes. Local indigenous groups who consider these sites sacred sound the alarm, but political instability and economic desperation often drown their voices. The irony is poignant. These geoglyphs survived a millennium of hurricanes and floods, only to risk annihilation by the very descendants of those who might have once gathered within them. Their fading lines are more than archaeological curiosities. They're a testament to a time when human connection was etched into the earth itself, a reminder that long before cities, people found ways to mark their togetherness in the quiet language of soil and stone. Stretching across the deserts of Jordan, Syria, and Saudi Arabia, the so-called desert kites form one of the most enigmatic and overlooked geoglyph systems in the world. These sprawling V-shaped stone structures, some dating back 9,000 years, aren't abstract art or celestial maps, they're sophisticated hunting tools on a colossal scale. Built from low stone walls that stretch for miles, the kites funnel herds of gazelles or ibex into narrow enclosures where ancient hunters could harvest dozens of animals at once. The precision is staggering. From the air, the formations resemble giant arrows pointing relentlessly toward death traps, a testament to how early societies mastered their environment through geometry and patience. What's remarkable is the sheer ambition behind these structures. Some kites stretch over 30 miles in total length, their guiding walls often invisible from ground level but perfectly aligned to exploit animal behavior. Gazelles, instinctively avoiding obstacles, would follow the gently narrowing walls until they reached a precipice or a hidden pit. The terminal enclosures, circular or star-shaped, held the final shock, sharpened stakes or waiting spearmen. This wasn't just hunting, it was industrial-scale harvesting, enabling communities to secure meat and hides for lean seasons. Archaeologists have found piles of bones at these sites, some containing remains of hundreds of animals, suggesting coordinated efforts across entire regions. Yet the kites also reveal a darker ingenuity. Many are positioned along ancient migration routes, their builders intimately attuned to seasonal patterns. Some even feature multiple false exits, narrow gaps that would tempt panicked animals to bolt only to funnel them back toward the kill zone. This psychological manipulation of prey hints at a deep observational knowledge passed down through generations. And the kites weren't static, they evolved. Later versions include branching funnels and multi-tiered enclosures, showing iterative improvements over centuries. The social implications are profound. Constructing and maintaining these megastructures required cooperation across clans, suggesting organized societies long before the rise of cities. The kites may have been communal projects, their success binding people together through shared labor and celebration. Ceramic shards and ritual objects found near some enclosures hint at post-hunt feasts or offerings to deities of the hunt. In a world where survival was precarious, these geoglyphs weren't just tools, they were covenants between humans and the land, written in stone and blood. Today, the kites face oblivion. Looters dismantle walls for construction, and shifting climates bury others under dunes. Yet their legacy endures. They force us to rethink primitive hunters, revealing them as engineers, strategists, and ecologists who shaped entire ecosystems. In their silent VS, we see the birth of something revolutionary, not just control over nature, but the audacity to reshape it on a monumental scale. Standing like silent sentinels across the windswept plains of Mongolia, the deer stones are among the most haunting and enigmatic relics of the Bronze Age. Tall, intricately carved pillars adorned with stylized reindeer soaring toward the sky. Unlike the sprawling earthworks of Nazca or the geometric precision of Kazakhstan's designs, these stones are vertical monuments, their surfaces etched with flowing antlers and celestial symbols that seem to pulse with movement even in stillness. Often found near ancient geoglyphs and burial mounds, they form a bridge between the earth and the heavens, a testament to the nomadic cultures that once roamed these vast grasslands with an intimate connection to both the animal world and the cosmos. The deer themselves are the key to unlocking their meaning. Carved with elongated bodies and antlers that twist like vines, these creatures aren't meant to be literal representations. Instead, they embody a spiritual metamorphosis, a belief that reindeer carried the souls of the dead to the afterlife. For Mongolian herders of the late Bronze Age, the deer was more than prey. It was a psychopomp, a guide between worlds. The stones often cluster around sky burials, where the deceased were laid atop scaffolds to be reclaimed by the elements, their bones later collected and placed in ceremonial cairns. The juxtaposition is striking. The stone's upward thrust mirrors the journey of the soul, while their carvings map a celestial pathway, antlers reaching like stairways to the stars. What's remarkable is the sheer artistry packed into each stone. Using nothing but bronze chisels and stone hammers, craftsmen transformed granite and basalt into swirling, almost hypnotic design. The deer's eyes, often rendered as concentric circles, evoke the sun and moon, while their bodies ripple with geometric patterns, zigzags, chevrons, and spirals that echo shamanic visions. Some researchers argue these patterns depict the spirit veins of the deer, channels of divine energy that the soul would ride skyward. Others see them as literal maps, marking the solstice sunrise or the migration of constellations like the Pleiades, which held deep significance for steppe nomads. The stone's placement adds another layer of mystery. Many stand in alignment with natural features, mountain passes, river bends, or solitary peaks, suggesting they functioned as ritual waypoints for both the living and the dead. Some are found alongside circular geoglyphs, their flat interiors likely used for ceremonies where shamans, clad in deer-hide robes, would enact the soul's journey. The interplay between horizontal earthworks and vertical stones creates a sacred geometry, a three-dimensional language of faith written into the land itself. Today, the deer stones endure as some of Mongolia's most sacred relics. Local herders still leave offerings of milk and blue scarves, honoring the spirits they believe linger in the carvings. Yet time and tourism threaten their survival. Looters chip away at the softer stones for souvenirs, while climate change accelerates erosion, blurring once crisp lines. Efforts to document and protect them are urgent, for these aren't just artifacts, they're the last echoes of a cosmology that saw no divide between earth and sky, between the hunter and the hunted. In their silent vigil, the deer stones remind us that some geoglyphs don't lie flat. They rise, reaching for answers we're still learning to ask. For centuries, uncovering geoglyphs relied on sheer luck, pilots spotting shapes from cockpit windows or farmers noticing strange patterns in their fields. But today, the game has changed. Drones armed with high-resolution cameras now skim just meters above the desert floor, capturing details invisible to the naked eye. Meanwhile, satellites and Google Earth allow researchers to scan thousands of square miles with a click, turning what was once needle in a haystack exploration into something closer to a global treasure hunt. The impact has been seismic. In just the past decade, these tools have revealed hundreds of previously unknown geoglyphs, from Peru's dense clusters of linear designs to Arabia's sprawling stone gates, each discovery rewriting our understanding of ancient ingenuity. Take the Amazon, for instance. For years, the rainforest's thick canopy hid its secrets, leaving archaeologists to assume pre-Columbian societies lived lightly on the land. Then LiDAR technology pierced the greenery, exposing vast geometric earthworks beneath, proof of complex civilizations that farmed, built, and sculpted their world on a monumental scale. Similarly, in Russia's Ural Mountains, satellite imagery uncovered a colossal moose geoglyph invisible from the ground, its 6,000-year-old outline surviving only because technology finally gave us the right perspective. These aren't just new finds, they're paradigm shifts forcing us to reconsider where and how advanced cultures thrived. Yet the real revolution isn't just in discovery, it's in interpretation. Advanced software can now analyze geoglyph alignments with celestial events down to the minute, revealing solstice markers or lunar calendars we'd never spotted before. In Chile's Atacama Desert, drone surveys showed how seemingly isolated figures actually connect into sprawling ritual pathways, while thermal imaging in Jordan exposed hidden stone layers in desert kites, proving their use as mass hunting traps. Even crowdsourcing plays a role. Platforms like Global Explorer enlist amateur archaeologists to scour satellite data, leading to breakthroughs like the 2,000-year-old Band of Holes in Peru. But with every answer comes a fresh mystery. Why do some geoglyphs, like Kazakhstan's 8,000-year-old earthworks, seem designed solely for aerial viewing in eras without flight? How did cultures separated by oceans like the Nazca and the creators of Saudi Arabia's mustatils land on similar shapes and scales? Technology hasn't just given us solutions, it's handed us a cascade of deeper questions, proving that these ancient canvases still have stories left to tell. The irony is poignant. The same tools that let us shop online or stream movies are now deciphering humanity's oldest landscapes, bridging the digital and the ancient in ways their creators could never have imagined. And as algorithms grow sharper, one truth emerges: the Earth's surface is still the greatest history book we've got, if only we learn how to read it. Even as we uncover these ancient marvels, their survival hangs in a fragile balance. The Nazca Lines, for instance, suffered deep scars in 2018 when a truck driver plowed across the fragile desert surface, leaving tire tracks that cut through 3 of the iconic designs. The damage was more than physical. It was a violation of a 2,000-year-old testament to human creativity. But trucks aren't the only threat. In Peru's coastal valleys, erratic rainfall linked to climate change now washes away the fragile topsoil that defines the Huanca geoglyphs, blurring their once crisp zigzags into indecipherable smudges. Meanwhile, in Kazakhstan's steppes, agricultural expansion and oil exploration encroach on earthworks that have endured since the Stone Age, their ancient outlines bulldozed in hours without documentation. Tourism, though well-intentioned, often accelerates the problem. The Cerne Abbas giant chalk grooves, for example, erode faster as thousands of visitors trek across the hillside each year, their footsteps gradually flattening the figure's bold lines. In Saudi Arabia, off-road vehicles chasing viral photos of the gates leave tire marks that crisscross the prehistoric stone walls, disrupting alignments that survived millennia of desert winds. Even the Uffington white horse, lovingly maintained by locals for centuries, now faces pressure from drones buzzing too close, their propellers kicking up dust that settles into the carefully scoured trenches. Yet hope isn't lost. Innovative conservation strategies are emerging worldwide. In Nazca, authorities have deployed drones and AI-powered surveillance to detect trespassers, while farmers nearby act as unofficial guardians reporting suspicious activity. Chile's Atacama Desert now boasts a team of geoglyph rangers, trained in both archaeology and community outreach, who work with indigenous groups to monitor the Pintado sites. Technology plays a pivotal role. 3D scanning preserves endangered designs digitally, as seen with the white shaman rock in Texas, where every pigment flake is now mapped for future restoration. The urgency goes beyond preserving art. These geoglyphs are living archives of human resilience and ingenuity. The Nazca Lines, for instance, encode ancestral knowledge of celestial cycles still relevant to modern astronomy. The Amazon's earthworks challenge stereotypes about rainforest societies, proving they shaped their environment with sophistication rivaling urban civilizations. When a desert kite vanishes in Jordan or a moose geoglyph fades in Russia, we don't just lose a relic, we lose a chapter of humanity's shared story. The fight to save them is as much about ethics as archaeology. Many geoglyphs remain sacred to descendant communities, like Mongolia's deer stones, where herders still leave offerings. Protecting these sites isn't just a scientific duty, it's an act of respect for cultures that see these marks not as curiosities, but as conversations with their ancestors. The challenge now is to balance access with preservation, curiosity with reverence, ensuring these whispers from the past aren't silenced by the very modernity that finally learned to listen. From the colossal desert kites of Jordan to the delicate spirals hidden beneath the Amazon, geoglyphs remind us how deeply human it is to leave our mark on the land. These ancient earthworks span continents and cultures, some towering and solitary, others woven into vast networks, yet they all share an air of mystery. Were they messages to the gods, maps of the stars, or communal stories etched into the earth? The Nazca hummingbird, the Ural moose, the white shaman's trance. Each one speaks a language we're still learning to decipher. But here's the thrilling thought. What else is out there waiting to be uncovered? With every satellite image scanned and every forest surveyed, new geoglyphs emerge, rewriting our understanding of the past. Maybe there's an undiscovered figure hidden in your own region, a forgotten mound, a patterned field, or a hillside carving obscured by time. History isn't just in textbooks, it's beneath our feet in the shape of the land itself. If these ancient wonders captivated you as much as they did us, don't let the journey end here. Hit that like button if you're amazed by humanity's enduring creativity. Subscribe to join us as we uncover more mysteries, and drop a comment below which geoglyph left you in awe. Was it the Atacama giant's cosmic gaze, the Cerne Abbas giant's cheeky boldness, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts and let's keep the conversation alive. After all, the Earth still has stories to tell, and who knows, the next great discovery might start with you.